Sigrun, unmute dich bitte.
Thank you, Kim. 3 clicks to your scientific cooperation. Thanks for clicking in today. Everybody is talking about climate protection, climate change, and climate agreements. A political solution is being sought in Glasgow. Scientific solutions are being sought in Berlin and at other university locations. This is also the case at the chair of circular economy at TU Berlin. In the end, all political, scientific, ecological, and technical solutions must come together and, even more important, be implemented. 1.5 degrees is probably the magic limit for global warming. We already know that. Simply getting rid of internal combustion engines and coal-fired power is not enough. So we look to China and want to know what kind of contribution is being made there. Welcome to our China Lunch series, which is organized by the China Center at TU Berlin, I think as most of you know, and more concrete by the Urbanics, here you can see here, by the Urbanics alumni network in the field of urbanization. And you can see my team members, which is Dr. Tanja Becker, Do Homeng, Kim Bese, and Paul Hoffmann, and myself. Lunch is not possible together for us in reality, but today is our suggestion, a favorite meal of our lecturer, Xue Bing, our speaker, and it is Liangbian Tudo Si, cold shredded potato salad. So we sent you the recipe, maybe you're ready for this. This semester on Circonomy, a pun, ein Wortspiel from circular economy and economy. And today is Xue Bing, our first speaker, one of 3 excellent speakers which we have in this winter semester. And before he starts with his presentation, Do Homeng will introduce Dr. Xue Bing. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Sikun. So I will shortly introduce the in background about our speaker today. Dr. Xue Bing received a PhD degree in human geography and a bachelor degree in geoscience, both from Lanzhou University of China. And currently, he is a researcher working at the chair of circular economy and recycling technologies called CERT at the Technical University of Berlin. So in his professional and academic career, Dr. Xue worked on circular economy, industrial ecology, and geo-based sustainability studies. And he was involved in dozens of consulting projects of local circular economy development planning and roadmap designing. He won the Green Talent Award from BMBF in 2011 and received the Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship in 2013. So the title of his presentation today is Circular Economy in China, Framework, Highlights, and Outlook. And this talk intends to outline the history of circular economy development in China, illustrate the changes of the framework, priorities, and highlights at different developmental stages, and discuss its role in China's long-term sustainability. Mr. Xue's presentation today will also discuss the observations and thoughts on the urban-rural circular economy development in China, mainly from the perspective of material cycles, stakeholders analysis, and the interaction in between. And dear Dr. Xue, we are very pleased to have you here today and are very looking forward to your presentation and discussion afterwards. So stage is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then I can share my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Could you see the screen?
Wait a second. Now, yes.
Okay, good. So thanks very much for the kind invitation. At the beginning, I thought it was a quite easier presentation for me. So to be honest, I also I'm quite convinced with myself about circular economy research in China, because since 2002, I was kind of the first batch person who are involved in circular economy research and local planning in China. And some scholars also listed me as a top 20 authors in Chinese circular economy. But when I started my to build the slides, then I found it quite difficult for me to give a presentation because the circular economy ideal context of circular economy quite broad. So I'm thinking about what kind of focus I should choose to present today. So finally, I think maybe I can talk something about circular economy in China from the perspective of framework, highlights, and outlook. So okay, here's storyline of my presentation. First of all, I've given some exchange about the framework, what I have understand about framework of circular economy. Then I will present some highlights which I learned from my thoughts. Then we'll have some outlook about the circular economy development, and the last section is about question and answers. So when we talk about circular economy, maybe you have already had some kind of abstractions of circular economy. You will see a lot of symbols in somewhere. For example, maybe with a cycle, with a green. So I think this when you look at these symbols, you maybe have a general idea, okay, this is something about related to circular economy. So here is very simple. Then I found a very funny thing is that just when I met this time with my son, so I asked my son, what do you see from these pictures? Then he said, okay, west, 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 green, 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 cycle, cycle, and an earth. So I think this is also kind of key idea from what we have understood for the circular economy, even from my son, a 6-year-old boy. So I think so when you look at these very easy symbols, you could see, okay, this is kind of circular economy related to the west, to the green. It's kind of cycle and would have some benefit or sustainable contributions to the earth. So this is kind of a general idea about circular economy. And also this is a symbol of our chair. You see, the name of our chair is Chair of Circular Economy and Recycling Technology. We also use the symbol of circular here with a red. Then the background is kind of periodical table of elements. So it means materials. So then materials plays a key role in a circular. So we could understand that circular economy also related to the material cycles. So this is a general abstraction of circular economy. But the question is, how do we define the circular economy in Chinese context? I think this is one of the fundamental questions which should be answered. Actually, the term of circular economy was introduced to China in the 1998 from Germany, when a Chinese delegation, a Shanghai delegation from China, we paid a visit to Germany, and they learned something from about the waste management. Then they particularly like the word of circular economy. So they presented this idea and also the concept of circular economy to the Shanghai mayor, who was Jiang Zemin, who is a former chairman of China. So they also like this, like this term very much. And then, but it's officially adopted by Chinese leadership in 2002. However, I think the definitions of circular economy between Germany and China are a little bit different. So what's the differences? We'll see, we check the definitions from both Chinese side or German side. So we checked the German Circular Economy Act, which was defined in 2012. It defined the circular economy in tracking with the waste management, for example, prevention, recovery, and disposal. The aims to promote the circular economy in order to conserve the natural resources and also to ensure the protection of human health and the environment in the generations and all management of waste. So it's kind of focused on waste management. But if you look at the Chinese circular economy promotion law, which was revised in 2018. So they took circular economy as a generic term for the reducing, reusing, and recycling activities conducted in the process of production, circulation, and consumption. So if we compare these two terms, we would see that the definition in German side much more focused on waste management, while the definition in Chinese side focus on the activities. So we call 3R activities. So an interesting question I always ask the students is that, So based on the definition from Chinese side, is to develop renewable energy or circular economy. So this is quite an interesting question for us to understand what the Chinese context about the circular economy. So it means if from the perspective of the Western management, of course, to develop renewable energy is not a circular economy. But if we from the perspective of reducing activities, for example, to reduce the electricity generated from fossil fuel, then we could say to develop renewable energy is kind of circular economy. So it's a little bit differences between the two definitions. So then let's go to the details. What is the detailed explanation of circular economy in Chinese context? So we take the Chinese circular economy promotion law as a base. So it mentions that the activities including reduce activities, reuse activities, as well as recycling activities. So here, reduce, it means refers to the reduction of resource consumption and waste generation in the process of production, circulation, and consumption. And reuse, it means refers to the use of waste directly as a product or continued use as a product after repair, refurbishment, or remanufacturing, or the use of all part of the waste as a component of other products. So kind of reuse. We should say that the reuse process does not change the chemical components of the material. And the last step is recycling, which refers to the direct use of waste as raw materials or recycling of waste. So we also see that, okay, the circular economy focus on resource efficiency, waste management, and it's kind of method or approach for reduce, reuse, and recycle. So the general idea or official definition of circular economy in China. But based on these 3 R's, a lot of scholars was also proposed their thoughts about circular economy. So they develop or extend the 3R to 5R to 7R or to, to a lot of R's. For example, they say that okay, reduce, and recycle was not enough. So we need to add some more R's inside. For example, to rethink. Okay, rethink the development model or rethink development philosophy. Then we also have to think about reject. That means reject non-environmental sound products. So you can reject or rejection. Also, some companies mentioned about root. That means composting process about from the bio waste. So we see a lot of R's, such as, for example, repair, renew, refurbish, remove, recover, regeneration, redesign. Anyway, I think the basic or fundamental principles are also still 3R. That means reduce, reuse, and recycle. So it's a final definition from the government side of the Chinese circular economy low, because the latest, just a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago, we noticed that there's a noticement from the National Development and Reform Commission of China. So this NDRC is seeking a new or revised definition about circular economy for a new round of revisions to circular economy promotion law. He said that the first point of this revision is that we want to reduce or redefine the circular economy. That means they are called for some new definitions or substantive content or characters and description of circular economy. And since there's a lot of arguments actually in China, because the economist or the ecologist or the geographer, they have different understandings about circular economy, and they want to define the circular economy from their own perspective. Besides 3R. So that means there are kind of arguments about that. So I think this would be a very interesting thing for us. However, what is the final definition that could be adapted or applied by Chinese government? We have no idea about that. We will see. So the latest vision of the circular economy promotion law, and we will see how they define the circular economy in Chinese context. So this is one of the framework about the definition of circular economy. The second point I want to share with you is about the institutional skeleton. So when we're talking about Chinese development policy, we have to pay attention to 3 level, issues. One is about the political level. One of the top level is about the CPC, Chinese Party or Communist National Congress. Every 5 years, the top leader of Chinese people will deliver a report at the party congress. And in this report, we'll mention some development policies for the next 5 years or for even longer of China. So it's kind of guidelines for the development policies change. Then the law, the National People's Congress will make some laws followed by the idea from the report at the party congress. Then that means it's kind of work on legislation level. So after that, the state council and its departments will do some planning or action schemes to try to make it realize the idea. So it's kind of from political level, they propose some guidelines or ideas, then it will be changed into legislation. Then it will be turned into the executive level. But sometimes it's also different. For example, some new idea, new philosophy, new development philosophy. This is also proposed or suggested by the state council to the Chinese party or community. Then it will be changed to shift to as a political guidelines. So sometimes it's quite a little bit different. And the philosophy of the idea of circular economy actually is almost from its bottom up, because at the beginning, it was proposed by the Ministry of Environment Protection, then being a policy or being a policy in the report at the party congress, then become a law. So let's see the timeline of the circular economy in China. So once there, I also here I list some milestones of the timeline about developing circular economy in China. So let's start from even the idea of circular economy was introduced to China in around 20,000. But actually, one of the oldest milestones is about in 2005. So the State Council launched opinions on accelerating the development of circular economy. And then in 2007, the circular economy, the CPC National Congress said that, okay, a circular economy should be formed on a large scale, just one sentences. But these sentences have a huge impact on the development trend of Chinese economic model. So followed in 2008, the National People's Congress launched the circular economy promotion law. So it's very fast. Actually, before that, most of the work are done by the Environment Protection Department, for example, Ministry of Environment Protection. Because at that time, as I remembered, there was a very young, wise minister from the Ministry of Environment Protection called named Pan Yue. He was very interested in circular economy, and he did a lot of work trying to popularize the circular economy idea in China. So they did a lot of work and research before 2005. For example, he started to do the master plan of developing circular economy in Gansu province, which I also was involved in 2002. So then after that, the idea was the circular economy idea was officially adopted by the Chinese leadership. But after 2005, when the top leaders pay attention to circular economy, then it means it should be linked. They thought that the circular economy should be linked to the industrial development. So in 2005 and 2007, the National Development and Reform Commission led the first and second batch of circular economy in pilot projects. So this kind of signal for us is that the leading ministry regarding circular economy has been shifted from Ministry of Environment Protection to National Development and Reform Commission. So in China, in the Chinese context, the NDRC, that means a National Development and Reform Commission, is also called a small or tiny state council. So they have much more stronger power, and they are linked to the development planning and other industrial development directly. So this means a circular economy could have a great opportunity to promote for further development. Then after 2008, the State Council issued the 12th five-year plan of circular economy. This is also the first 5-year planning for circular economy. After that, they will also have the 13th and also 15th currently, the circular 5-year plan of circular economy. Then in 2013, the State Council also launched the Circular Economy Development Strategy Action Plan. And after this plan, the NDRC also issued another pilot project called Circular Economy Demonstration City and County Project. That means they choose some cities and counties to develop a circular economy and try to get some experience and also develop some models for that. Then after that, the CPC National Congress mentioned the circular economy again in 2017. This time they mentioned that they have to strengthen the construction of ecological civilization. This is also the main idea proposed by President Xi Jinping. So in this context, I mean the ecological civilization, the circular economy has a kind of is being a national policy. So that means before 2017, when a local officials said that they want to develop circular economy, it usually considered as a kind of pioneer, or it's kind of innovative approach. But after 2017, to develop circular economy is being a kind of normal state for the Chinese people, also for Chinese local officials. So then in this year, I think circular economy has been, how to say, adapted as kind of very normal term in China. And it also is being integrated as one of the key ideas for ecological civilization, or to develop a new economic system in China. We call it green, low carbon, and circular economy. So, but also from this year, I think the role of the ministry also changed. From the Ministry of Environment Protection, then shifted to the NDRC. But from this year, I think more and more ministries are involved in this strategy. For example, the Environment Protection, Ministry of Ecology and Environment, many in charge for the eco-industrial park, and the Ministry of Natural Resources, many responsible for the resource development and exploration. And also Ministry of Urban and Rural Development are involved in land planning. That means circular economy should be taken also should be considered as a kind of tool or idea for land planning. And also there are some other ministries. So we'll see that the idea of circular economy has been adapted by Chinese ministries as kind of daily and normal work. So it's not a new term for the Chinese officials, even for Chinese people. So this is a kind of institutional skeleton of circular economy. So the third point I want to share you about under the framework is about indicators. So that means if we want to manage the circular economy, we always think about how to manage the indicators, right? So the indicator is quite important for governing. So here, if we look at the reference, we see one of the most important indicator system is from the OECD. They collected about 474 indicators related to circular economy. And they also belong, these indicators are proposed by different scholars or research groups. So then they also did some, how to say, category work, how to categorize these indicators to which group. We will see that, for example, among the OECD indicators, 20% of the indicator belongs to waste group, and 10% belongs to resource and materials. Then are some of the indicators belongs to reuse, repair, share sector, and also built environment, energy, food, water, public administration, air, and others. So they have about 1/3 of the indicators are low sector specific. So based on this idea, the indicators also was developed in China by the NDRC. Currently, the first version was launched in 2007. We call the 2007 version, and latest version is about 2017 version. So during the process of developing these indicators, the material flow analysis approach is being adapted as a main method. As I knew, the NDRC invited some experts, professors from the schools, universities, and research institutes, and also companies, and also some local governments to have some about 3 to 5 days discussion to discuss what kind of indicators should be selected for measuring the circular economy. So after a lot of debates and arguments, finally some indicators are chosen or were selected in the 2007 version. So here in this version, the indicators for measuring circular economy are categorized as 2 groups. One group is for the circular economy indicator at the micro level. That means from city level or county level or regional level. So these indicators are these 22 indicators were grouped into 4 groups. Then 2 indicators are listed as for resource output rate, and 7 are listed for resource consumption. 9 are listed for resource integrated utilization, and last 4 indicators are listed for waste disposal and pollutant emission. So the second set about the circular economy is for an industrial park level. So in this level, there are about 12 indicators are grouped into 4 groups. We'll see 4 indicators for resource output rate, then for another 4 indicators for the resource consumption rate, and the 2 indicators was grouped into the resource comprehensive utilization rate, and last 2 indicators are used for measuring the waste disposal and pollutant emission. So that means we have 2 sets of indicators. One is for micro level, for regional level. Another one is specific for industrial park level. However, we also write a paper to discuss these indicators, which was published in the Journal of Clean Production in 2012. Because our first author, Professor Geng, he was also involved in the process for developing these indicators. So we thought that there are some weaknesses or some other challenges for the indicators presented in the 2007 vision. For example, it's lack of social indicators for the circular economy. For example, this we want to add more indicators. For example, the degree of public awareness and participation, or the employment rate through CE efforts, or even environmental justice issues. But these indicators are not adapted by the NDRC. Then I also think the second point is that we thought it's the lack of indicators on urban industrial symbiosis. Because we think that the key idea behind circular economy is to develop industrial symbiosis. But currently, the indicators are much more focused on some small isolated section or sector. So we think that maybe we can add some more indicators on urban and industrial symbiosis. The third point is that it's a lack of indicators for business. That means how to measure the circular business in China, and also lack of absolute material energy reduction indicators. So the absolute indicators are always, how to say, argued by Chinese government and also by Chinese scholars. We have a lot of discussions about whether we need to apply the absolute indicator or the relative indicator, for example, carbon emissions. So there's still a lot of discussion about that. Then we are also lack of prevention-oriented indicators. For example, I think as an idea from German Circular Economy Act, the prevention should be very important, but we are lack of such kind of indicators. Then we also found that there would be some barriers to implement these indicators. For example, the NDRC doesn't publish any detailed description or standardized process on data collection, calculation, and submission. And local governments are required to develop their own approaches with full responsibility to collect data. So this is quite very interesting things when I did the consulting work for the local governments regarding the compiling the circular economy development plan. So that means even there are 2 districts in one city, the data calculation process or collection process are quite different. So the same tool, but with different calculation or collection process, then we have some different implications for the final results. Anyway, I think it's quite a huge uncertainty for the final results. So in 2017, the new version of circular economy indicator was launched, which is also effective now. So, but these indicators are only, how to say, used for regional level. And the NDRC didn't issue any indicators for industrial parks. They just mentioned that, okay, if we want to measure the circular economy development at the industrial park level, you can try to take some indicators based on your own understanding and the own characters, local characters. For here, we will see that compared with the original one, we see that the category has been changed from 4 to 3. Here is comprehensive index, including 2 indicators, the output rate of mineral resources, and also the recycling rate of the waste. So this indicator are calculated based on the weight. That means, for example, the recycling rate of the waste. Here, waste means organic waste, industrial waste, agricultural waste, also the kitchen waste. Then you have to connect the data from such kind regarding this waste generation and recycling rate, then use an average rate of this recycling waste. Of course, if your city have shows a great performance in kitchen waste recycling, you can improve the weight in kitchen waste recycling. So that means this lambda also could be have some uncertainty. Then they also have some specific index, including the output rate of energy, water resources, construction land, and also the comprehensive utilization rate of crop straw, comprehensive utilization rate of general industrial solid waste, and also the water reuse rate of industrial enterprises above designated size, recovery rate of main renewable resources, urban kitchen waste recycling rate, urban construction waste recycling rate, and the utilization rate of urban reclaimed water, as well as the total output value of resource recycling industry. So this indicates the kind of the monetary indicators for measuring the local circular economy. And they also propose 4 reference index. That means you, when the NDRC want to evaluate the performance of a city, these 4 indicate the kind of reference, but not belongs to the calculation process. So if we have same scores, then we will look at these indicators. So it give a kind of final performance who would have a better performance in circular economy. So this is quite this is the latest indicators for measuring China's circular economy. So if we compare these indicators with OECD indicators, we'll see they are quite the perspective or start point are quite different. For example, in the OECD indicator system, they're talking about the phase. They divide the phase as 2 phases. One is setting the strategy. So they use the indicator for measuring the process or input and the process. When enter into the implementation stage strategy, then they have different indicators, for example, CO2 emissions or raw material awarded. So it's kind of quite different with Chinese indicators. So this is kind of comparative with Chinese circular economy indicators. And then this is the second part I want to share with you is about the highlights in circular economy in China. So first of all, I want to show you some characters. It's kind of summary of the characters of circular economy in China. For example, the concept. So I think the characters is that a closed loop approach to production process. They not only are focusing on waste management, but it's kind of closed loop approach to production process. The extension, that means integrating features of these recycling rules, resource efficiency, and also reduction objective in all socioeconomic aspects. So it's a kind of, as we said in the, or as we observed from the promotion law, it's kind of focused on activities. All the activities reduce links to reduce, recycle, and reuse could be categorized as circular economy. And the development pattern in China is kind of a top-down method. You know, the top leadership will be pay attention to the term of circular economy. Then it was changed into law. Then okay, turned into the implementation theme or action plan. But anyway, the legal system is still not perfect. For example, the promotion law was revised in 2018, but now the third round of revision is still is ongoing. And I think from a systemic perspective, being a broader systemic policy and being a interdistinguishable from environmental production planning. So it's kind of characters of Chinese circular economy. So let's go to details. One, I think the highlights of circular economy in China is that it has very high, very broad coverage in developing circular economy. So that means this is a kind of summary from a scholar. He says that the circular economy in China not only could be divided as design, production, consumption, investment management, and sustainable development. And we have done a lot of efforts all cover the design sector, production sector, consumption sector, as well as the investment management sector. So it's kind of a very broad coverage in the circular economy in China. The second point is that we have already achieved remarkable achievements in developing circular economy. For example, compared with 2015, last year, China's main resource output rate increased by about 26%, and the water consumption per unit of GDP reduced by 28%. In 5 years, you see, in 5 years, we really achieved a remarkable achievements. Also, we can see that for the output of recycled non-ferrous material is about 14 million tons, accounting for about almost one quarter of the total domestic output of the 10 main non-ferrous metals. And then the overall contribution rate of the development of a circular economy to the reduction of domestic carbon dioxide emissions exceeds 25%. So you would see that just in the 5 years, last 5 years, by developing circular economy, we have achieved a great effort. But of course, we're also facing some new challenges. For example, even though we have improved a lot about the energy efficiency or the consumption efficiency, but if we compare this indicator with the average, world average, is still higher, much more higher than that of world average. And we also face the problem that the generation of new waste products, such as power batteries and the PV modulars, has increased significantly. And it's quite difficult for us to recycle and disassemble. For example, we see from this figure, we see that the new energy vehicles are very popular in China now. And in the recent years, but we are facing a lot of problems in the coming year. Maybe we are facing a lot of problems in the coming years about how to recycle the battery. We call it power battery, not a domestic power battery, a power battery from the cars or e-vehicles. So it increased a lot. And the second highlight I want to share with you is that currently most of efforts in circular economy actually focus on key industrial sectors, industrial parks and cities, and less efforts in rural areas. The key industries what has already mentioned a lot, not only in the promotion law, but also in some planning, national level plans. For example, the iron and steel, non-ferrous metals, coal, electric power plant, petroleum processing, chemicals, building materials, construction sectors, paper making, and also printing and dyeing. Because this is an industrial sector, the kind of energy intensive or water intensive or resource intensive industries. So these industries are selected as a key or priority for developing circular economy. And also NDRC has initiated 2 batches of national circular economy pilot projects. We will see currently 109 enterprises, 33 industrial parks, 7 provinces, and 19 cities are involved in this or selected in these pilot projects. But low pilot projects in rural areas, I think this kind of also one of the weakness or challenges in developing circular economy in China. Even though in 2015, just since 2015, the Chinese government started to pay attention to the circular economy development in rural area. For example, they launched the National Sustainable Agriculture Development Plan from 2015 to 2013, which proposed to promote the rice fish symbiosis or peak biogas fruit and forest economies. So that means they want to create some new models in rural area. We call it a small circular economy model. For example, using how to fishing this rice fishing symbiosis. And also this is another flow figure about the biomass potentials in China. So we'll see that the total losses actually are from the rural land. So we see that, okay, we could see that they already did a lot of efforts in some other sectors about the biomass, for example, from agriculture, woodland or grassland, or even for open land. But for rural land, a few efforts was done. So that means most of the total loss of the bioenergy biomasses actually are from rural lands. So there's also, and here is another case about the, the circular economy model in China. So as I like this paper very much because it's really interesting for us how to we define circular economy, how can we identify the advantages or disadvantages of circular economy at the household level. As we know, just when I was young, my grandfather, he could have us feeding some pigs, and we could build a very small but very smart circular economy model at the household level. But along with the rapid urbanization, and also because of the policy, the environmental policies, for example, you are not allowed to feed the pigs at the household level. That means there could be resulting in a lot of organic waste, and such organic waste could be how to say, without any treatment, then it's kind of protein source for rivers. So this paper identify the livestock transition in China between 1980s and 2010. So they found that even though along with the development, actually more and more nutrients are lost to the ecosystem. So that means, so how do we redefine the circular economy? How do we redevelop the circular economy model and the household level would be a quite interesting topic for us. Then this figure shows us is an outcome from our research from UWA project, which mainly finished by Unia from our chair. We found that in Fangyan, for example, in Fangyan, Taizhou, in this city, based on the material for the analysis, we found that the tapped untapped spherical recycling potential in the water source is quite different. Here we see the tapped spherical recycling potential only shares about 5% of compared with all the untapped recycling potential. And here for the face surface is a 2%, and the large chicken is a 3%. Even in the water bamboo system, there's a higher tapped potentials. For example, it was 66%, and 72% and 66%. So they have quite a different performance about the waste or larger than recycling potential in different agriculture systems. So the last section I want to share with you is about the outlook. So I think the latest document or official document for us need to be understood about understand the circular economy is about 14th 5-year planning of circular economy, which was issued on July 7th of this year. So this planning aims to develop a circular economy through various initiatives. So we will see the targets for circular economy targets for 2025. So they say that China should have a fully implemented circular production method, widely promoted green technology and production, and also significantly improved resource utilization. For example, here also these some hard numbers for the next 5 years. For example, increasing resource productivity by 20% compared to this last year, and also reducing energy consumption and water consumption per unit of GDP by almost 14% and 60%. And reaching a utilization rate of 86% for crop stocks, 60% for bulk solid waste, and 60% for construction waste. And also we want to utilizing 16 million tons of waste paper and 320 million tons of scrap steel, and also want to produce about 20 million tons of recycled non-ferrous metals. And the last indicator about industry, that means we want to develop a resource recycling industry and want to achieve the output value could be achieved to RMB about 5 trillion. So in this plan, 3 key tasks are listed to achieve circularity. One is building a resource recycling industry system and improving resource utilization efficiency. The second one is building a recycling system for waste materials and fostering a recycling-oriented society. And last one is deepening the development of the agriculture circular economy and establishing circular agriculture production. So you see that I think one of the highlights for this plan is that finally the shift the focus from industry and cities to agriculture. That means agriculture is, they have already realized that agriculture is also an important sector in developing circular economy. And based on these 3 key tasks, they list 11 key projects in tandem with the plan. For example, urban waste material recycling system construction, recycling park development, comprehensive utilizing our bulk solid waste, and resource utilizing our construction waste, and so on. So this is the last one is about recycling used batteries. I think this is an emerging topic for the circular economy in China right now. So on this one, they also have already listed very detailed plans. For example, under the task 3, deepening the development of the agriculture circular economy and establishing circular agriculture production, they said that we are going to strengthen the utilization of agriculture and forest waste, and strengthening the recycling agricultural waste, including by guiding farmers to participate in recycling, and building in recycling facilities in villages, and establishing regional waste disposal and utilization facilities, and promoting a circular development model for agriculture. So here is a research outcome from a scholar. We see that quite different. We also see that it's in the imbalance of biomass plant or biomass production amount. So that means we also facing some potential challenges. So the Chinese also, at the agriculture or circular perspective, the ministry in recent years, the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, also the General Office of the CPC, also the General Office of City Council, issued several documents about how to promote the circular economy development in rural area or in agriculture sector. A key ideas is behind is that they want to promote the resource efficiency from the perspective of chemical fertilizer, and also want to reduce, improve the waste management efficiency. That means to improve the comprehensive utilization rate of straws, also cow manures, and also the agricultural plastic. So they also launched technical guidelines for agricultural green development 2 years ago, and try to propose to develop 25 new green technologies. One of the key technologies is that agricultural waste recycling. And the Ministry of Urban Rural Affairs and Construction also launched some policies to guide or to promote the circular and green agriculture in rural China, and also they promote some indicators, for example, the utilization rate of the treatment of livestock and poultry manure, also to increase the capacity of treating and utilizing animal manure. So they have, that means animal manure is also a key sector in developing circular economy in rural China. So now, along with the new urbanization in China, that means more and more towns are built, but also we want to focus on some village level material flow analysis and want to build so-called beautiful village in China. So I think more and more studies would be needed or will be done at the village level. For example, in the last few years, we did some survey. My group, when I was working in China, we did some field survey in China to understanding the material flow at the village level. So we collect some data from different provinces, from Shandong province or Henan province or Liaoning province or Mongolia. We try to understand the material flow or circular economy potentials in these villages. So we draw out the material flow. One of the interesting outcomes is that we found that even for some small villages or settlements, if we develop or reuse the material biomass energy very well, then we could be reduced about 60% of the external energy. That means 60% of the energy could be self-produced within a village. I think it's quite interesting number for us. And third point about the outlook is open rural material cycles, because as I said, the circular economy development in China in the past years almost mainly focus on urban area and industrial sectors, but with less efforts on rural systems. But actually there are great links between rural system and urban system. For example, people flows, natural resources flows, production flows, and capital flows or information flows. So that means we have to think about to develop circular economy from the perspective of urban rural linkages. So here is it's kind of illustration of the urban rural material cycles. For example, this is an urban area, this is a rural area. We have some links about the food, energy, and nutrient cycles. And also we have to think about the stakeholders' role in the decision process. So this is kind of general idea to illustrate the urban rural material cycles. And we found that some barriers need to be overcome. For example, the knowledge and awareness is still insufficient. And stakeholders' attitudes and behaviors are not stable. For example, farmers and government staffs. I have a lot of experience in this field. For example, in Lanzhou City, when a couple of years ago, when I was involved in a project, one of the investors want to build a biogas plant, and the farmers or the owners of the restaurants said that the biogas plant could take the kitchen waste for free. But when the plant was built, then the restaurant owner said that, okay, you are using my kitchen waste to produce electricity and owing money. So I cannot offer you the kitchen waste for free. You have to pay me a lot of money for that. So then it makes the plant stopped running for 1 or 2 years, almost 2 years. Then finally they have some legislation work try to, to solve this problem. And also I want to say that the policies and regulations are not systemic enough. That means we have some policy mixture. So how to coordinate the policies among different ministries and departments is still a lot of work. And we also need to think about insufficient technologies to support the circular economy. And this also means how to we combine the traditional knowledge with the modern technology, and also how to load technology and integrate technologies. So, and the challenging we are facing this is also the challenging we are facing from the perspective of UR project. For example, a transition towards a circular economy requires a holistic review, and material flows need to be a little understood. And we need to more work to understand the material flows and how to study the policy-driven transformation process. Sometimes the material flow analysis, material flow could be changed so quickly because of some certain policy. And we also have a lack of understanding of local circulation drive and regional mechanisms, and also lack of concepts of treatment process. So that means we need to build new concepts, tools, strategies. That means for promoting the circular economy development. So that I want to, in some few minutes, I want to introduce the circular economy in UR project. So for our UR project, our work package mainly understanding and supporting the management of material flows in the context of special human environment interactions and urban rural linkages. So the key idea is that we want to add.
Excuse me to interrupt you. We have some questions in the chat already. How do we proceed? Should we maybe?
Yeah, I said this last slide, I think. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. There's a kind of conclusion, is summary of our UR project. So it's a research gap is the interaction between the rural and urban material flows. And the research methodology we are using now is a material flow analysis and stakeholder analysis. Then I use mapping methodologies. Yeah, this is our working group. So thank you for your time. Sorry, it's quite long. Sorry.
No, it was perfect. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting again. Thank you very much for this excellent talk. A lot of plans, a lot of ideas, a lot of barriers, and some questions in our chat. So I would just like to start the Q&A session. And I think Herman collected the
yes.